Alright guys, we're making exceptional progress guys, and you guys should all be happy about the progress you're making also. But the next topics guys we're going to move on to is respiration. By respiration we're not talking about, ventilation, which is more to do with, moving the rib cage and, bringing air in. This respiration is more to do with aerobic respiration versus anaerobic respiration, and that's really the two main distinctions you have to know about in this topic. But without further ado guys, let's move on to the questions. So the first question guys was BMAT 2019 question 9. So let's read this together. It says a lizard was placed in a chamber with a constant flow of air. The temperature of the chamber was varied between 25 and 10 degrees, and then it says apart from temperature and time, all other variables were kept constant. The carbon dioxide concentration in the air leaving the chamber are shown in the graph. So you have the carbon dioxide concentration on the y-axis, and then you have time in minutes in the x-axis. And it says which of the following statements is or are correct. So guys, pause the video now, give yourself a minute, and make sure you're back after that minute so we can go through the answer. Okay, so let's go through this, guys. Let's go through the statements. It says between 25 and 10, the respiration rate of the lizard is inversely proportional. The respiration rate of the lizard is inversely proportional to the environmental temperature. So what are we seeing? So we know we're producing CO2 at all the temperatures. And remember, there's either two types of respiration. There's either aerobic respiration. Remember, aerobic respiration is you have glucose, which is C6H12O6. You react that with 6 oxygens to produce 6 CO2s and 6 waters, right? So this is aerobic respiration because you have essentially oxygen there, whereas the other form is C6H12O6, right? So you have glucose and you're literally just producing from this lactate, right? And obviously for both of these, you're also producing ATP as a byproduct, which is obviously what we want. We want the energy from that reaction, right? And obviously you don't really have to know about it at this stage, but the second one, the anaerobic, produces less ATP, precisely 2 lots of ATP, whereas the first one produces a lot more, so 32 moles of ATP for aerobic respiration. But you learn more about that next year, guys, in your A2 studies. So since we're producing CO2 at all of the temperatures, right, so that means that it must be going through the first route, which is aerobic respiration. So as you go from 25 to 10, guys, as you can see, the temperature is going down and CO2 is going down, meaning the rate of aerobic respiration is going down. So rather than being inversely proportional, guys, it should be proportional. So this one can't be right. And then it says the data demonstrate that the lizard is only respiring aerobically. Yep, that's you can't actually really conclude that, because yes, you're producing CO2, but you could have aerobic respiration with anaerobic respiration at the same time. So if you have both of them at the same time, yes, you'll be producing CO2, but you wouldn't know if you're doing anaerobic respiration because that doesn't produce CO2. So this one can't be it. And then the last one, the carbon dioxide could be detected by passing the air leaving the chamber through lime water. So this is more of a chemistry thing, guys. We're going to cover this when we go to the chemistry section. But yes, remember the test for CO2 is the lime water test. And remember, lime water is basically calcium hydroxide. So you have calcium hydroxide plus CO2, and if you do this reaction, you're going to produce calcium carbonate plus water. And essentially this calcium carbonate is a white precipitate, and if you have a white precipitate mixed in with a solution, you get sort of this milky sort of solution. So this one is true, and therefore, guys, hopefully you can understand then that the answer would be D. So hopefully, guys, that has made sense, and we really look forward to seeing you in the next question. Alright guys, welcome back. So previously we were looking at BMAT 2019 question 9, really introducing the topic of anaerobic and aerobic respiration, but this is more data analysis. And also, guys, we had a bit of mix of chemistry in there as well. We had some chemistry contamination there, but hopefully, guys, we're going to cover this concept of lime water again anyways, but hopefully with my explanation, guys, that has made sense. But now, guys, we move on to BMAT 2016 question 13. So this one reads, which of the following molecules are involved in both aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration in a healthy human? And really, guys, with the previous question, I think you should have enough information, hopefully, to get this question right. So, guys, pause the video, give yourself a minute, and make sure you're back. We'll be going through the solution. So, guys, let's go through this. So, carbon dioxide. So, clearly, carbon dioxide is not both of them. It's only for aerobic, isn't it? Whereas anaerobic just literally produces lactate plus a bit of energy in the form of ATP. So, it can't be this one. Glucose, yes, so remember, glucose is the substrate for both of them, but the substrate can take 2 different routes, producing CO2 in water or producing lactate. So this one is true. And then lactic acid, obviously that's just a thing of anaerobic respiration, isn't it? So this one can't be for both of them. And obviously that's why your legs get sore after exercising for so long, because you're building up lactic acid. So the answer therefore, guys, is B. Hopefully, guys, that wasn't too difficult. And if it was difficult, guys, remember, just post down below and we can answer your queries. But hopefully that wasn't too difficult. And looking forward to seeing you in the next question. Okay, guys, welcome back. So previously we looked at BMAT 2016. Hopefully, guys, this wasn't too difficult. And it was really just a basic question talking about the differences and similarities of aerobic and anaerobic respiration. But now, guys, we move on to BMAT 2015. So this is which role identifies what is occurring during anaerobic respiration in animal cells. So guys, pause the video, make sure you give this a shot within 1 minute, and make sure you're back, guys, to look through the solution. So guys, welcome back. So look, we're looking for anaerobic respiration. Remember, anaerobic respiration is just glucose going directly to lactate and making energy in the form of ATP. So is carbon dioxide formed? That's going to be no. So we've already eliminated half the options. And then it says, is oxygen used? That's clearly no. Hence why you have the name, isn't it? Anaerobic. Without oxygen. And is water formed? No, you don't form any of these. All of these things, guys, are a thing of aerobic respiration. So the answer, hopefully, guys, you can understand, is A. So hopefully, guys, that has made sense, and we look forward to seeing you as always in the next question. Alright, guys, welcome back. So BMAT 2015 question 5. Again, I hope, guys, you agree this was a pretty straightforward question, as with the other question. Really, guys, with the respiration topic, there's not really anything which is significantly difficult. But hopefully, guys, you agree this would be 3 marks and you'll all be able to get it if it comes up in your actual exam. Now, guys, we move on to BMAT 2014. So this one looks a bit meaty, so let's read this together. So it says, in order to function, the cells of the brain need large amounts of energy. Any reduction in the function of these cells can have serious consequences for the body. For example, a loss of oxygen supply to the brain can cause unconsciousness within 5 to 10 seconds. It says, which of the following statements are true? And then you have 1 to 4. So guys, pause the video, give this a shot, come back after a minute, and we can go through the answers. Okay, so let's go through this, guys. So it says neurons in the brain are capable of relying on anaerobic respiration for long periods of time. So it says the brain needs large amounts of energy, right? And obviously anaerobic respiration, guys, remember I gave you a figure. We're going to learn more about this next year, but I think it's just good to have at the back of your head. Anaerobic respiration only produces 2 lots of ATP per round. So if you're doing that for too long, you're not going to have enough energy, and therefore the brain isn't going to survive. So it isn't capable of long-term anaerobic respiration. The next is the homeostatic systems of the body will constantly have to work to resist temperature increases in the brain. So yes, this is true, isn't it? So this is true really with the whole body. You have to keep a constant temperature throughout your whole body, otherwise your proteins literally define your body, the functions of your body, the structure of your body. And obviously if they ain't working properly, then you're going to interfere with, even for example, you're going to interfere with the process of respiration, because you have a load of proteins which are involved in that process, which can denature if the temperature isn't regulated properly. So this is true. Then the next one says an overdose of insulin in the body could produce a serious loss of brain function, such as inducing a coma. So so this again, guys, is more to do with the next topic we're actually going to look at next, which is the homeostasis. So I'll just explain it briefly here. So if you remember probably back to your GCSEs, maybe even your A levels, you have insulin and glucagon. Glucagon is when glucose is gone, so that acts to bring glucose back up, whereas insulin does the opposite. It's a counter-regulatory hormone, so that actually brings down your glucose level when it's too high. But obviously if you have an overdose of insulin, then even when your glucose level is normal, it will bring it down too low. And if it goes too low, all that insulin is going into, fat cells in the liver. Therefore, if your blood sugar is too low, that means less glucose is going to go to the brain. And less glucose to the brain means less respiration, whether it be aerobic or anaerobic. And that's going to mean that you have a low amount of energy, and the brain isn't going to be happy. Because obviously we know about this statement, isn't it? So, so this is true. And obviously if you have loss of brain function, you essentially go into a coma, you lose consciousness, right? And then the last section says during normal functioning of neurons in the brain, high levels of CO2 could be produced. Yeah, that's true. So because remember, if it needs large amounts of energy, then the only way it's going to do that if it continuously for a long period of time does aerobic respiration to get 32 lots of ATP per round, and that obviously is producing CO2. So the more rounds you do it, because you need more ATP, the more CO2 you're going to produce, right? So this one's also correct. So hopefully, guys, you can understand then that the answer would be G. hopefully that was clear, guys. As you can see, guys, respiration sometimes rarely comes on its own, generally comes in tied in with other topics, but hopefully, guys, that has made sense. And I actually think this is the last question on the respiration topic, so hopefully that has been useful, guys. And I think the next topic is the real meaty one, which is going to be homeostasis. So I look forward, guys, to going through that with you guys. So see you soon.